Practice management, claim scrubber check. In order to ensure that claims are submitted to the payer without error, Prognosis has multiple levels of edits, or scrubber checks, in place. Some of these are system generated, while others may be locally customized based on needs and circumstances relevant to your practice. Now, there are 4 types of scrubber checks that we're going to discuss in this video. There are warnings. Now, warnings will inform the biller when something may be incorrect. This may be useful when validation is situational, but it requires human judgment. So warnings may be overridden if necessary. The second type of scrubber check is an error, and this will actually force the biller to make a correction before the claim can be submitted. If the correction that the error is validating is not made, the claim cannot be updated to a ready-to-send status, and therefore you cannot transmit it to a payer. The third level is called an update check, and this is when you need to have a message of sorts automatically appended to your claim. Often there are cells on the claim form reserved for local use, for instance, and certain payers may want specific data in that particular form locator of the claim, and it's all the time for that payer. So instead of the biller having to manually insert it, you can build a scrubber check to automatically populate that string of text for that payer in that form locator. And then the fourth type of scrubber check is informational, and this is thought of in terms of an electronic cheat sheet. So in our demonstration, we're going to look at creating and using all 4 of these scrubber checks. Now I'm logged in here to the practice management as Quinn, who is our biller. When it comes to claim scrubber checks, anybody with standard billing role permissions will have this functionality. So I'm simply going to go under my settings tab and choose the menu option scrubber checks. Now, if you are a new practice, obviously when you first start off, this screen is going to be blank, and you would simply add new. In my example, I do already have a few scrubbers in my master file. I do have an option of adding a new one, which we're going to do in just a moment. But before we do that, just looking here at our existing scrubber checks definition, you'll notice that there's a sequence column, the description, and then a validation number. Now, currently, the validation number is either going to be a number 1 or a number 0. Number 1 indicates that there is some built-in validation. Now, that built-in validation may be an automatic update. It may be an error that absolutely requires the biller to make a correction, or it may be a warning that you're allowed to override or fix. But there is some level of validation that the system is performing in order to trigger that scrubber check. A validation type 0 is simply informational, such as an electronic sticky note. So in order to view the content of one of these scrubber checks, you just select it in your screen and click on it. Now, I've chosen the one here called Medicare ID number format. You'll notice here it's just free text. And down here at the bottom, and I'll go into a little more detail on this in the next exercise when we actually create a scrubber check, but you will notice here that my built-in validation is not selected. This is an example of a cheat sheet or an electronic sticky note. This is informational, free text only, and it is going to be available to the biller on the claim screen simply as it is written. So again, instead of you maybe keeping a sticky note pasted on the side of your computer monitor, there will be a button on the claim page labeled cheat sheet that includes all of these little notes. Notice at the bottom that upon validation, this is being considered a warning. Therefore, it does not require you to fix anything. But now let's look at one that actually has validation involved, such as this one, change CPT for Medicare drug screening. Now this time you'll notice that my text area for the description is grayed out. And if I try to type in here, I cannot. And that is because this one is considered built-in validation. So my setup button is enabled when I have indicated I want built-in validation. And now for on validation, I have called this one an error. Now again, when you are building in validation, it could still be a warning or an error or an update. In the case of identifying it as an error, this will force your biller to make a correction, meaning it cannot be overridden. Now to see the details, the description up here, it's kind of written in computer code. If you understand SQL query language, you can understand what it is telling you. But to show you how this is compiled, I'm going to go into the setup button. And what it says here is that this scrubber check is going to hit on every claim that satisfies the following criteria. 1, the primary insurance name starts with the word Medicare. So within your insurance master, if you have a Medicare payer, or if you have a payer called Medicare Outpatient, Medicare Inpatient, Medicare Cahaba Benefits, or if you have a payer Cahaba/Medicare, this edit would not apply because it is going to only apply on insurances that start with the string Medicare. Its second criteria is going to look for charge code. Anywhere on the claim, if there's a CPT code equal to 80101, then the error message is going to say, stop, change the CPT code to G0431. So what this edit means for the biller, on every Medicare claim that starts with Medicare and the primary insurance name, if there's a CPT code of 80101, it is going to give a warning, or an error rather, that tells the biller, stop, change the CPT code to G0431. And if the 80101 is left on the claim, you will not be able to submit it. So you will have to remove the 80101 off the claim and add a G0431. Now, to create a new claim scrubber check, while you are viewing an existing one, you have the Add New icon in the upper left, or when you are on the search screen, you have the Add New button. Either way, it will open a blank screen. You're simply going to name it whatever has relevance to you to make it a unique entry in your database. Let's say we're going to create one for United Healthcare. So we're just going to say that United Healthcare requires modifier GP for 97 series CPT. And this is going to be an error because we want our biller to actually fix something. We don't want her to be able to overwrite it. We are going to put in built-in validation. Therefore, again, it's going to just gray out the description. I cannot type it in there because when I go into my setup button, I'm going to build the query now. Now, this query that I'm building is I'm going to select pieces of the database that the program is then going to validate at the claim level and decide whether or not the biller needs to fix it. So in this case, my operand, or first level of criteria I want to be applicable, is the insurance name. Now you notice when I choose this down arrow, I have a lot of choices. Basically, this is any indicator on a claim. You got your insurances, whether you want to do it based on the name, the payer ID, the company, the inside or outside of network indicator. You can go down and choose it at a doctor level. You can look for NPI, name, taxonomy, claim location, place of service, is it workman's comp, is it auto, and so on. So whatever scenarios that you need to stop your claim, you have those options. So we're going to choose here primary insurance. The operator then is basically your mathematical expression, or what action do you want the system to validate? It's going to look at the primary insurance name, and now what do you want the system to do with that insurance? Do you want it to compare it and say greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, equals to, not equal to, starting with, or so on? We're going to say we want it to start with UHC. So let's decide here. If we say starting with UHC, but you have some insurances in your plan that are spelled out United Healthcare, it won't hit. So you would then have to create another one that says starting with United. Or instead of starting with, in your operator, you can say in a comma separated list. And then you can say UHC, United Healthcare as 2 words, United Healthcare as 1 word. That way you can get all the different scenarios in one option. So it's a matter of whatever you prefer. If you want to have different ones or put them all in one. What this means now is you basically have built a very simple algebraic expression. If you take yourself back to middle school algebra here, you're going to take the insurance and the primary position of the claim and have the system say, is it UHC, comma means or, Is it United Healthcare as separate words, or is it United Healthcare one word? So that way, however it is in your insurance master, this edit will apply. Second option then, we want to look at the charge code. So we're going to come down into our list and we're going to look for our charge code, which is going to be at our claim level. So we're going to go down here and say charge code. And we want our charge code to start with 97. And again, the same rules apply. You could hard code it to a list of specific 5-digit codes. In this case, the edit is going to be for every CPT code that starts with a 97. So instead of doing 97000, 97001, and so on, we just say starting with 97. And then we want to see if the modifier is missing. So for our third criteria, we're going to say modifier not equal to, meaning is absent, GP. So what this SQL query is going to do is every claim that has a primary insurance that is either UHC or United Healthcare, 3 words, or United Healthcare, 2 words, that also has a charge code anywhere on the claim within the 97 series, and it does not have a modifier in the GP range, it is going to hit an edit. And what do I want that edit to tell my biller? GP modifier is required for United Healthcare 97 series CPT codes. Now the sequence is arbitrary. It just has to have some sort of a numerical sequence. And in this case, since we made it an error, it is going to force the biller to make a correction, or she will not be able to update the claim. So now to see this edit at the claim level, let's go open up one of our United Healthcare claims. We're just going to go ahead and open up Jack's Teller here. And we see that the insurance here is United Healthcare, and we have a CPT code in the 97 series. But let's say as a biller, we don't need to know about that. We're just working our daily claim load. So we're marking it ready to send, and this is what's going to occur. We're going to get a pop-up that tells us a GP modifier is required for United Healthcare 97 series CPT codes. And then it tells us specifically in this claim, we have a charge code 97018. So the payer combination is satisfied, the CPT code is satisfied, and the absence of a modifier is satisfied. So the 3 criteria we defined in the scrubber check are all satisfied, therefore it is erroring out on our claim. And unless I fix it, notice down here in the lower right, my check mark has disappeared. And in the upper right, my status has returned to ready to bill. So if I go now to my charge row and add the GP modifier, mark it ready to send and save it, this time I get the message save successful. My status is ready to send and the check mark is retained. So that is the example of a scrubber check error that I actually fixed. Now, while we're here on our claim detail page, notice here the cheat sheet button right above our charge row. I'm going to go ahead and click that button. And these are those informational edits. Remember, I showed you the validation status of 0, indicating they were not an automated validation, but rather an electronic sticky note. Here are those indicators. We see the one here about the all group health plan and needing a group information that may or may not be the employer, as well as the format of the Medicare number. And this is where you can see the sequence comes into play, because if there are a lot of different little notes you want to keep yourself, again, I use the analogy of multiple sticky notes taped to the side of your computer monitor. You can sequence them so that they appear in this window accordingly. So in review, Claim Scrubber Check is a utility that applies when a biller marks a claim as ready to send. The edits that are applied at the claim level come in 2 varieties. There are informational edits or scrubbers, as well as those that have built-in validation. There are also checks that you can define that will automatically update data as needed to the applicable cell of your claim form. Or the claim scrubber may result in a warning that a user can either override or fix based on the situation. Or there are those that are defined as errors, which actually forces the biller to make a correction before the claim can be updated and sent on to the payer. That concludes this video within the series. Please click the appropriate link below for your next step. If you'd like to take a quiz, you will receive your results in real time directly on the screen so that you can see how well you've done. If you answer incorrectly, the system will prompt you with the correct response. In addition, a confidential email will be sent to the education team to help us better serve you with our educational offerings. Second, advance to the next video within the series you're currently in. And finally, return to the video library main page. As always, feel free to contact us through the Resource Center or email with any additional questions or comments.